Well, we all know there is a specific kind of professional who looks at a broken system and decides the answer is not to fix it from the inside, it's to build something better on the outside. My guest today is that kind of professional. Tarji Carter is the founder and CEO of the Franchise Player and the co founder of the Franchise Game. She brings nearly 20 years of experience in franchise development, and she has dedicated that expertise to something that the franchise industry has historically underserved, helping professionals from underrepresented communities and untapped markets become franchise owners. Her mission is not small. She is working to bridge the wealth gap in America by turning passion into ownership with a goal of creating 500 new franchisees. She also left a corporate role to do it, which means she knows exactly what it costs to make that leap and exactly what becomes possible on the other side. So, Tarji, welcome to Design Pause. I am so happy to have you here.
Thank you for the invitation. And yes, you are absolutely right. A designed pause is exactly what this has been.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So, let's just get right into it. So, what did your corporate life look like before you made the leap? What were you doing and how long had you been doing it?
So I started my franchising career in 2008. I started as a franchise sales manager for a company called Carvel Ice Cream that was headquartered in New York, and then was acquired by Focus Brands and relocated to Atlanta. And so I did that for about 8 months. And before that, I knew nothing about franchising. It was a series of introductions, which is how I ended up where I was. And within 8 months, I was promoted to director of franchise sales for both Cinnabon and Carvel for the entire country. So I jumped in with both feet and been running with it ever since. So it was a great opportunity to learn something that had never heard of before, and it was a great challenge for myself. And I learned so much about not just who I am as an individual, but how to manage relationships, how to manage adversity, how to have tough conversations. Learned so much throughout that process that has stuck with me to today. And I'm still learning because every day is a different day, and I learn something new with every interaction, every conversation.
I love how you described that it was just a series of introductions and you were in something new and that ultimately became like a catapult for you and you were promoted so quickly. That is just, it's beautiful when opportunity meets the type of ambition that you need when you're starting something new. So that's awesome. I love to hear that. I love how that sounds, a series of introductions. So, what was there a moment when you knew that the corporate path was no longer the right one, or was it kind of like a slow build?
You want the real answer? No, just kidding. It was definitely a slow build. Every brand I went to, again, a different experience. Some brands were a lot more advanced in the way that they saw franchise development, the way that they saw serving certain communities, and also
Hmm.
the way they saw recruitment, franchisee recruitment. And so
Hmm.
every brand is different in the way that they go about all of that. And so with every brand that I worked with, I really learned um, how to ask more questions,
Hmm.
and how to push back professionally when something just didn't feel right or sit right with me. And so it really helped me to establish kind of that base level of trust within myself that I have that I didn't always have, right? Because
Hmm.
I was in a lot of environments where I just didn't understand like how much I could how much I could push the envelope in terms of speaking up for myself. There was always that tipping point, right? You want to stand up for
Hmm.
yourself, but you don't want to come across as the angry person, right? Or someone
Yes.
who's combative or hard to work with or not a team player. I mean, I'm sure you've heard all the labels.
Yes.
And so being in those environments, it's a balancing act. You want to make sure that you're showing up, you're asking questions, you're in the room, but sometimes you can do that and then be met with a lot of resistance. And
Yes.
so I just got to the point where I felt like I learned enough to step out on my own. I had established enough great relationships with folks across different disciplines within franchising that
Mm-hmm.
I could step out and I could start to do something on my own. So I did that in 2017. Um, and that was pre-pandemic. So I did that
Mm-hmm.
for a little while. And then, just by the grace of God, I was interviewing for a role that I didn't even know I was going to need. And so it was probably like the week before the pandemic really hit, I was offered a position with Wingstop.
Mm.
I didn't know I was going to need the job.
Right.
It
Exactly.
definitely came in at the perfect time when, business, consulting business and clients had just dried up. There was
Mm-hmm.
something happening. There was a shift happening in the country and in the world. I didn't know, but it came at the perfect time. And so from 2017 to 2020, I was out on my own. I actually, kind of like with what you shared, I stepped away in 2017 and I just took a week. I went to Barcelona by myself and I just walked around Barcelona, ate my way through Barcelona, had a really great
Yep.
time. And then when I got back, I realized, you know what? I've been working since I was 13 years old. I'm taking the rest of the year off.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
so from July of 2017 until probably like November, December, I did nothing. I recharged. I invested in myself. I read books. I exercised. I drank more water. I read, I just
Mm-hmm.
I spent time with friends. I did all the things that I didn't have time to do or make time to do when I was really preoccupied with working in a corporate role. And
Yeah.
so
I absolutely, the way that you are describing the way that you took your pause is one of the ways that I talk about in the framework that I use. You can take a pause and you can just absolutely do nothing and completely just pour back into yourself. You can work on building something during a pause because maybe you know what you want to do, or you can do kind of a little bit of a combination of the two. But the point was that you took the time to make a conscious decision and say, I need this time. And so I don't think a lot of people realize that they have that option available to them. I think we're always just so focused on getting to the next goal, getting to the next role, getting into the next thing that we don't often take that time and kind of look inward and say, well, what else could I possibly be doing, or am I on the right path as it is right
I
now?
didn't know. I had no idea. I just kind of listened to my body
Mm-hmm.
and my mental health, right? There were
Mm-hmm.
things that I just wasn't really in tune with when I was
Yes.
on that hamster wheel. And so I I took the time, but it was so crazy. Like I would wake up every day like, oh God, did I miss a meeting? Did I sleep through my alarm? Like
Mm-hmm.
was it took me honestly, gosh, it probably took about a good year before
Yeah.
I stopped that I didn't have that anxiety anymore. Like,
Yes.
am I letting somebody else down? Am I
Mm-hmm.
missing a timeline? Am I not doing something I'm supposed to be doing? And it took a while. It really took a
Mm-hmm.
while to get used to understanding that no, you're on your own. You don't
Mm-hmm.
have to set an alarm. You don't have to be at a meeting, a Zoom meeting, or in a meeting at 9 o'clock on a Monday, right?
Mm-hmm.
It took a while for that to happen. And I think people think I'm crazy when I say it, but I mean I think it's some PTSD
Yes.
involved in that,
It
right?
is 100%. I was just gonna say it's 100% PTSD from being
And
in
you
that
don't realize
space.
it while you're in it. You're like, okay, this is just the thing that I'm supposed to do.
Yes.
And,
Mhm. And
and it
even when you're not in it, it takes time to shift that identity. And that's the part that I think when people talk about career breaks, if they talk about them at all, because I don't hear that conversation too much, people don't mention that part, that it takes time to kind of shed that identity and be like, okay, like this is a new thing. I'm doing something different now, and I don't have to have all these anxiety. Like I was hearing the team's ringtone in my sleep, you know. So so I can completely
yeah.
relate to having those moments. But one of the things that I would love for you to touch on is when you made that decision, what was the hardest part about making it, about walking away from the stability, quote unquote, because
Yeah.
everyone says that, or everyone is concerned with, well, how am I going to make money? How am I going to fund my career break? What is this going to do to all those relationships and those things that you built?
Mm. So the were really one of the most important parts. And I made sure that I was connected, right? Along the way, I was making sure I had phone numbers and email addresses, not just business email addresses, but personal email addresses as well, personal cell phone numbers, because I knew I was leaving. I just didn't know when. And
Mm-hmm.
so I had been planning for a very long time because the vision that I had for the franchise player and the franchise game, it was one that I tried to take to almost every brand. Like, hey, let's think about a different way of recruiting. Let's think about a different way of bring business folks together. Let's think about a different way of just conducting business overall. And so every brand that I went to, not that there was anything wrong with the brand, it just wasn't a priority for them. And so
Right. Mm-hmm.
so okay, I can continue to go from brand to brand and consistently try to be this, swimming upstream and, you know, always bumping my head against whatever it is, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
and be angry about it. Or I could just
Mm-hmm.
step away, have, confidence in what I know the world needs from me, stay in prayer and listening to what I need to be doing. So I had to do that. But but while all that's going on, um,
Mm-hmm.
I was preparing financially. So I played this little game with myself. So I knew I had my budget. I knew what my bills were. I knew what they were every month. And so the night before direct deposit would hit, I would transfer whatever was in my checking account into my savings.
Mm-hmm.
Every pay period, it became a game. I want to make sure it's more than the last time, and the last
Yep.
time, the last time. And so it became this game for me. So I did that. I also had some stock. So I made sure, I knew what I needed to do with that. And then I
Mm-hmm.
actually, because I didn't know what was happening in the country, I
Mm-hmm.
cashed out, had a good
Mm-hmm.
time,
Mm-hmm.
put that in the bank. Um, I, this is going to sound crazy, but I made sure I did all my dentist appointments, my doctor's appointments, renewed my clear, my PSA pre-check, all the things.
Yep. It doesn't sound crazy at all because that is exactly what I did. That
Yeah,
is exactly what I did.
yeah, it's a thing. And I was like, you know what? Because once it's gone, it's gone. So let me make
Yep.
sure, mammograms, annual,
Yes.
all the things.
Yes.
Because we know
Yep.
COBRA is expensive, right? So I was just really trying to make sure that I saved as much as I could. I cut whatever expenses I didn't need, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
really got down to the bare bones of
Yep.
of this whole thing. Like, okay, if I don't make another dollar for another
Yeah.
6 months, I can still cover my bills. So I was planning
Yeah.
probably 2 years in advance
Mm-hmm.
because if I
Yeah.
went back to a corporate role, I wanted it to be on my own terms, not because I was desperate.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. You are, I mean, I cannot believe we haven't had this discussion before because you are definitely speaking my language. Those are exactly the things that I did. And if you're always, if you're always getting ready, like when the moment comes and
Yeah,
you can actually take that leap, you're like, okay, I'm ready for this. Like, I'm ready for it. So
yeah,
even if, just to the woman who's out there listening right now, like even if you don't think that you can take a career break right at this moment, like tomorrow you couldn't put your notice in, are you prepared for the moment when you feel like you want to take that leap? Like
yeah,
what are you doing now? What are you putting in place? The what you just described about your finances, I call it the financial reality inventory. It's like, what do you have at your disposal currently, and what can you do to make the most of that? So I love that you described it in such beautiful, simple terms because that's what it is. That's what you have to do when you're deciding if you want to make this leap.
yeah.
So as far as like the franchise game or the franchise player, you did you know was it fully formed, or like was the business plan fully formed, or was it still just a vision when you decided to make the leap? Like how did you bring it from concept to reality in the time that you took the break?
Yeah, so I didn't quite have the name for it just yet, but I knew all along because again, the things I wanted to implement in these at these companies, they just weren't received, right? And so I was like,
Hmm.
okay, I know that this is going to work, and I know that it's going to work. So I would, I just kind of kept a tab of everything, and I had the outline for it. I knew exactly why I wanted to create the franchise player and who I wanted to help and service, and how I could serve as a bridge between those candidates and the brands, right? And it was a matter of
Hmm.
just aligning with the brands who understood the bigger picture and had some shared values, right? Because a corporation and the leadership and their mission and their values, right? That all comes from the top. But there are so many people within that organization. Some are aligned with, the top, and some are like, listen, if I had the authority to do X, Y, or Z, this is what I would do. And so, finding out who those people were and just kind of staying attached to them. So when I was able to build the franchise player, I reached back out like, hey, this is what I'm doing, would
Hmm.
love to work with you. And this is what I've built. And so it's
Hmm.
just kind of grown from there. Even with the franchise game, that's the franchise symposium and trade show that we do every year. We just came off of the fourth one last week. It was the best we've ever done. And
Oh,
so there were people in the room who had been watching how this thing was progressing year after year. One person even said, they bought their ticket really late, like because they had FOMO, because they saw a competitor was coming. I was like,
yes.
oh, okay. So, people are just kind of like sitting around on the sideline, just waiting to see how this
Hmm.
whole thing progresses. And so, and I get that, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't want to be the first one because you don't want to, you just never know what to expect. But
Yeah.
the event was the best we've ever had. We've been all over social media,
Yep.
especially all over LinkedIn. Everybody's posting, everybody's sharing about it because it's something that's so unique. Like we've
Hmm.
curated this room and this space for people who operate with integrity, who want to do
Yeah.
business together. And that's
Yes.
what this is. And that it doesn't matter where you come from, what you look like, what you
Hmm.
believe in, who you love. We're
Hmm.
all there to conduct business and to do it in a way that honors each other and in a way that helps one another grow. And that's
Yes.
what we got from it. And I'm so blessed that that's kind of the feedback we've been getting, and it just makes me feel really good because that was the intent all along. It was
Hmm.
never to alienate anyone because that's not what we stand for.
Yes, 100%. I can speak from experience after attending a couple of your events. Every event is just better than the last one. And it is like, it is a true networking experience in the best sense of the word. The people who are there are so warm. There's nobody who is like too good, like they can't talk to you. And the panels, you just have you get so much value from the panels. Like people are talking and they're sharing their real experiences. They're not doing it from this 5,000-foot level. And you're like, I don't know what this person is. I'm not getting anything else. It's like those
Yeah.
moments where your pen is just like on fire because you're like, oh my gosh. And to see the trajectory that people have from where they started to where they are by the time they get to that stage that you've built, that you've created for them to share is amazing. It's nothing short of absolutely inspiring. So, I mean, I'm that's
All right.
my personal experience. So I know, if they don't believe you, they can take it from me. It's an amazing space that you've built to get people connected.
And I would say one thing, it really comes from the preparation, right? So
Hmm.
before anybody hits the stage, I have deep conversations with everyone, all of the panelists, the moderators, the speakers, and they ask the same question, well, who's going to be in the room? And I tell them it's going to be a little bit of everyone. Folks who probably learned what franchising was yesterday, up to multi-unit, multi-brand operators, and everybody in between. So I want to make sure that we're speaking to the audience in a way that lands and that resonates, and we're not talking over anybody. And it doesn't mean that somebody just isn't educated. It's just that they're not aware of this aspect of financial
Right.
freedom, right? There's a lot
Right.
of language, there's a lot of acronyms and things like that that for me and for someone like you and others who work and live in this space every day, it's just second nature. But there are a lot of folks in the room that are new to this. And so always want to make sure that whoever's on stage is speaking to everyone in the audience in a way that that really resonates. And if there are questions, like sometimes you just don't even know what you don't know. Even when people are speaking, they're this using this jargon and this language that just misses, because that's what they
Right.
do every day. And sometimes we just have to get outside of that bubble and go back to where we were when we first started. And so
Yeah.
that's kind of what we do. And I also make sure that all of the speakers have an opportunity to meet one another before they hit the stage. So
Yeah.
usually virtually, but they get to know one another, and there's like some communication. And even afterwards, everybody stays in communication. So it's really a matter of people building, the networking piece, of course, right? But there's a lot of relationship building
Mm-hmm.
that happens in real time.
Mm-hmm. So, besides coordinating the space for these conversations to happen, what does the process look like in practice? So if I'm a person who is interested in franchising, or how do I get plugged in? How do I get connected to you and the resources?
Yeah. So there's go to the website. Of course, there's a lot of information on the website. And you can learn, just kind of like tool around before you start to have a conversation, right? To see if
Mm-hmm.
any of this makes sense. And if it doesn't, then just click on the contact button, fill out your
Mm-hmm.
contact information. The website is the franchise game. I'm sorry. Scratch that. The franchiseplayer.com is the website. Just go to contact, fill out your information, and then what I initially do is have a 15-minute consultation with everybody. It's complimentary. And then we decide, where you are. First of all, if franchising is for you or not, where you
Right.
are in that process. And then if we want to work together, then we can move forward and set up a really in-depth discovery call to really dig into the meat of what next steps look like. And then that process is a matter of really deciding what the best industry is, narrowing it down to a few brands and to getting to that one brand that you want to move forward with. And then we assist with the business plan. We assist with putting together the infrastructure. We introduce you to lenders, folks in construction, real estate, design, marketing, market planning. So we have resources within every one of those disciplines. And so these are folks that, again, I've had relationships with for almost 20 years in some cases, who understand what it is we do, how we do it, and why we do it. And so they are ready, willing, and able to assist anyone that comes through the franchise player program.
Mm. Okay, I love this. I love that there's it kind of, the fact that you give just that little consultation is so helpful, because so many people stop themselves from starting something new, or just by just not even being curious enough about it, and they don't want to take the step without actually talking to a human being first. And I think in this day and age where there's so much technology and so much AI, just knowing that there's a person that I can just speak to start this journey and just see where I'm at is going to be really helpful for a lot of people. I want to switch gears just a little bit and ask about the hard parts of building this, right? Because there's always hard parts. And I think a lot of the times we see these amazing highlight reels of what's happening, and I want to get down to, you know, those moments where you're like, okay, I'm questioning my decision, and not just the moment that you question the decision, but what got you through it.
Mm, great questions.
Mhm.
The hardest part for me is and has been, not a lot of folks that I am in life with know what franchising is and understand that world. So not really anybody in my immediate circle that I can bounce things off of. Right.
Yeah.
I can talk to them. And again, I just talked about like using language and jargon, but sometimes there's a need for that, especially when you're trying to build something. And so,
Right.
they say you're crazy until people really understand what's going on. Sometimes you can just be ahead of your time. And so, I've been talking about franchising for almost 20 years now. My family came to Dallas this weekend and saw what I had been building all this time. And they're like, oh, I get it now.
Now they get it. Yeah.
So, all
Yeah.
of that to say, it's very lonely.
Mm-hmm.
It can be extremely lonely when you're on
Mm-hmm.
this path of understanding that you're in this place of um, rebuilding,
Yeah.
refurbishing your life.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
then also, other people are like, well, just girl, just get a job. Thanks. Right. What? Duh, just get a job. But when you're not built like that, or you've
Yeah.
done it for so long and you've reached a point where that just isn't it just doesn't fit anymore.
Yeah.
It takes a while. It takes somebody else experiencing that before they can relate to you. Kind of like when you lose a parent, right?
Yeah.
You have people around you who love you, but they don't understand what it's like to lose a parent until they
Right.
lose things, right? So it's really kind of
Exactly.
the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I
Yeah.
think has been great for me is as I'm talking to people who are kind of like mid-career and they're interested in franchising, they don't know much about it, they want to dip their toe in, but they're not really sure. Everybody seems to think that when you talk about franchising, you're only talking about either Chick-fil-A or McDonald's. And,
Right.
and you need $1 million, right?
Yes.
When I'm
Yep.
able to have conversations to let them know that there are probably over 300 different categories to choose from, the economic output of franchising is over $90 billion dollars with a B, right?
Wow.
So
Mm-hmm.
$90 billion. There's over 800,000 different franchise units in the country. So when you think about all of that, no one person did it all by themselves. And
Right.
you don't have to either, right? This is something
Mm-hmm.
that you can bring in your girlfriends, your sorors, your fraternity brothers, cousins, you name it, even coworkers that are just as tired of the place as you are, right?
Right.
But they have to
Right.
be like-minded. So people say, I don't do partnerships. Well, you have to really research and do your due diligence on who you're bringing into the fold. And
Right. Mm-hmm.
the key to that is you don't have to do it alone. If you're looking at a brand, for example, maybe they need 100,000, maybe they need you to show $100,000 liquid cash and a net worth of $400,000, right? They just want
Mm-hmm.
to see that you have the financial wherewithal to get into this business situation.
Right.
Now, if there's four of you and you each have $25,000 liquid, now you've met that requirement. So
Right.
now you're not only taking or spreading out the risk, you're also spreading out the responsibility. So now
Right. Absolutely.
you want to go to Turks and Caicos, for a month. There's three other people that are there to help take care of that business.
Right.
You
Right.
can
Right.
recharge. You can do what you need to do for yourself. And now you guys rotate it and you own it collectively. So if you decide you want to own more, you can do that collectively. Or now that you have one under your belt, you can spin off and maybe form other partnerships or do it on your own. But starting small and starting with a group of folks is a great way to get into franchising without risking it all.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I love that. I love that idea of working together and being in community, obviously making sure like you said that you're with like-minded people, but I don't think a lot of people consider that as an option as well. Coming into, when it comes to starting your own business, like how can I spread the responsibility around, and then also we can kind of lift each other up together in community. I'm thinking like even if your family members, or like you said, your group of girlfriends or what have you, like that's a way to get started, because maybe you don't have enough to do it by yourself, but you partner with two or three people, and now we're all rising together.
And you're not
I'm
having to do all of the things on your own. I'm sorry, I didn't
right.
mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
But you're not having to do everything on your own. They give you a playbook, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have this playbook, and then you have
Mm-hmm.
this entire team of folks behind you to help guide you along the
Yes.
path of success. Now, if you follow what's in the playbook and you are in communication with your team, if you're having
Yeah.
some struggles that you're communicative about that, like you have to take control of your part of this journey. But in a
Mm-hmm.
franchise, you're not starting from scratch. You're
Mm-hmm.
making an investment into something. So people are like, why would I join a franchise? I have to pay franchise fees. Well, when you send an email or make a phone call, there's somebody on the other end that's
Right.
there to answer and receive and to help you with
Right.
whatever challenge you might be facing. Now, overall, it is your business, but you're in it
Right.
collectively. And if everyone's playing their part, you could have a great situation on your hands.
Yes. The way I like to describe franchising for people who don't necessarily fully understand what it is or don't understand the benefits of it, it's like, okay, we're going to give you the ingredients and we're going to give you the recipe, but you have to do the work to make the cake. But the ingredient, like we went grocery shopping for you.
Right.
Here's the
Exactly.
ingredients.
Here's
Here's the
everything.
recipe, but
Yeah.
you have to do the work to make the cake. And so I'm like, when I put it like that, especially when I used to go into different franchise organizations, and you're training the associates and explaining to them, they're like, I would just work here. Like, I don't know what the franchise is. Like, that was the best way to get them to understand, like, oh, okay, like I get it now. I understand, that I'm a part of something bigger. So,
I love
yeah.
that.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
way that I explain it. But I want to go back to one of the things that you said about entrepreneurship and building something, and it can feel incredibly lonely. And the only reason why I want to go back and touch on it is because I've had I think you're my fifth or sixth guest on the podcast, and everyone has said some type of version of it can be incredibly lonely. And it's like after you've built the thing and you see so many people come together, or you see, all of this, all of the wonderful accolades now after the fact. I mean, those pieces, um, people don't expect, like, they don't see the behind the scenes. They don't know what you had to go through to get to that point, to have the event, to have the people. So, in those moments, how did you just keep pushing through? Was it just you knew that you had the mission that you wanted to complete, or did you find a coach? Did you find a friend? Did you find a partner? How did you kind of resolve that?
It's still lonely, to be honest with you, if I'm being very candid.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so so I have two separate businesses. The one is the franchise player and the other is the franchise game. So I own the franchise player 100%. And in the franchise game, I have two business partners.
Mm,
So one of the partners I met when I was in franchising at Wingstop. So he was in marketing. It was COVID. Everybody's on the screen, like the Brady Bunch, all the squares were up there.
yeah.
And we just happened to recognize each other. So we had an offline conversation. And, I was telling him about, my vision for this franchise game. And we didn't have the name for it. He came
Mm-hmm.
up with the name, the franchise game.
Yeah.
And so he was off doing some other things, and we would still keep in touch about how we want to make this thing happen. And then he had a contact who was really like the missing link to all of this. Like, I handle the franchising piece, the relationships,
Mm-hmm.
the agenda, all that kind of stuff. And then he would be in charge of marketing. And then this third person who he brought into the fold. And it feels like I don't even know what we do without any of us, right? Because we all play
Yeah.
such different roles. Came in, it was like the missing link. So did a little bit of everything, more like on the promotion side, really a connector, if you will. And that's
Yes.
exactly what he is. And so the three of us started doing that. So when it comes to the game, like, I have partners in that. Like, I can bounce things off
Yeah.
at them. um, you know, one worked in franchising, but on the marketing side, the other one is in promotions and things like that, in event planning. So I can bounce things off of them when it comes to that. But when it comes to the consultancy, there's
Mm-hmm.
really not a lot. And so what I say is, this is, and I'm about to go to church on you for just a second.
I love it.
But I never knew anything about franchising as a child. Brands
Mhm.
didn't come into my community and say, hey, did you know you could own one of these? They didn't come to our schools. They didn't come to our after school program. I knew nothing about it. My dad was very much a very astute businessman. And if he knew about it, he would have told me. So
Yep.
I'm assuming he didn't know either.
Mhm.
So to be in franchising and have never known anything about it, that's nothing but God. And so
Mhm.
for me, I know that this is purpose driven work that I'm doing. This
Yes.
information does not reach the community that I'm from. And
Yeah.
so, what good would it be for me to have learned everything and not give it to those that probably need it the most?
Yeah.
So, that's really what keeps me going is
Yeah.
like, there is no plan B.
Yeah.
There's no
Mhm.
plan B for me. Like,
Mhm.
it's what I think about when I wake up in the morning. It's what I think about when I go to bed at night. There's nothing else. And so
Yeah.
I know that's not me because I want to do
Yeah.
other things. I want
Right.
I wanna and I do the things that I want to do outside of this, but this is it. And so
Yeah.
even when it gets lonely, the reminder that God has trusted me with this
Yeah.
and has given me all of the resources that I need to make this happen.
Yeah.
That's the kick in the butt. Like, okay,
Yep. Mhm. Yeah.
no
And
more pity party. It's time to get
right.
back to work. So I wish I had another answer for you, but that's
No, that's perfect. I wouldn't have it any other way. I wouldn't have it any other way. That was a great answer.
thank
And
you.
if you had to venture to guess, since you started on this journey, how many lives would you say you have changed by introducing them to franchising?
Oh my gosh. Conservatively, I'm gonna say hundreds. We'll say hundreds.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Wow.
we're doing this for almost 20 years now, since 2008. And many people I've talked to. So I think what has happened, what has helped me throughout my career is even when I worked for brands and I would talk to somebody who I knew wasn't ready. I knew I could not bring them into this. They had none of what it took to really make it to the finish line. I didn't just send them a decline letter or not call them back. I talked to everyone
Yep.
to let them know, okay, you're not there yet, and you
Hmm.
might be a far way away right now. However, if you do these two or three things, you might be able to put yourself in a position to get approved in short term, long term, whatever it was, right? Depending
Yeah.
on where they were starting from. So
Right.
I saw a lot of myself in the folks that I talked to who just
Hmm.
didn't know. They
Right.
just didn't have access to the information on how this whole thing works. And so
Yep.
I could have easily just thrown them away with a decline letter. Hey, boop, you don't meet the requirements. Good luck. I didn't do
Right.
that. And I still don't do that because
Hmm.
when someone has a dream or someone has hope, like the last thing I want to do is to crush that. So if
Yes.
I can
Hmm.
say one or two things that might still keep them inspired and give them a
Hmm.
sense of direction, then I'm always going to do that.
Yes. And sometimes people just need the steps. It's like, okay, well, I don't know. Like, how can I get there if I don't know what I need to do? It's like, okay, so I can't start my franchise tomorrow, but how do I get prepared for it? So I love that you're,
Yeah.
giving people the time and treating them like human beings and saying, okay, and being real with them, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like, look, if you try to do something right now, you'll be in a bad position. So let me tell you what to do to get yourself prepared. You know what
I
I
have
mean? So,
one
mhm,
multi-unit, multi-brand franchisee. We're friends now. And
mhm,
he loves to tell the story how we had a conversation. And I said to him, you ain't got no money. And I said it to him just like that because we had developed a rapport, and I felt
yes,
and so he loves telling that story. But we had the conversation, but I
yeah,
started out like, okay, we're gonna have a real conversation, okay? And I want you to know this comes from a place of love because I want to see you succeed. But
yep,
you ain't got no money. And so
yes,
we laugh about it today, but now he's a multi-unit, multi-brand operator who I call whenever I have a need for someone that has that level of experience, someone that might be looking for an operating partner or something like that, like he's one of the
Yeah.
first people I call. And so just because you're not there yet doesn't mean you can't get there with the right, guidance and strategy. That's really all
Right.
it takes. It's not rocket science.
Right. Oh my gosh, I love this conversation. All right, we're running out of time, so I have two more questions for you
All right.
so that we can tie this up in a beautiful bow because it really has been a great conversation. I think a lot of people are probably Googling now some things that maybe they didn't know before. But what do you know now that you wish you had known before you made the leap?
Before I made the leap. That's a great question. Um, I wish I had more confidence in myself,
Mm,
right? I had spent so many years allowing others to tell me who I am.
wow.
Tell me that basically you are not ready for whatever it is, right? There's always someone that's going to tell you you're not ready, you don't have enough, all
Yep.
of the things. And I just wish I stood up for myself more, right? And
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
voiced my opinion or asked more questions, but also believed in myself more.
Yeah.
I would go into new positions feeling like everybody that was there before me knew more than I did. And now
Right.
that I'm on the other side of that, I know that's not the case. And it
Hmm.
was not the case back then. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's one big one is
Hmm.
really, and it sounds really like, hokey, but like really sitting with
No.
yourself. What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? Being realistic with yourself.
Yeah.
Um, who am I? What do I
Yeah.
stand for?
Yeah.
And if something
Hmm.
doesn't feel right and you're in a position where you're like, you know what, that person said that doesn't sit well with me, right? I wish I had the courage back then to pull them to the side and say, hey, what did you
Yeah.
mean by that?
Yeah.
Or, what made you feel like that was appropriate to say to me?
Right.
Those sorts of
Hmm.
things. And
Hmm.
not be worried about being the angry person.
Hmm.
Because whether I
Yeah.
was or wasn't, the label was kind of probably
Oh
all
yeah.
the room to begin with, right? So
Hmm.
standing up for myself, believing in myself more. I think, not think. I wish I had done that more.
I love that. That's definitely something that someone can take away. But for the woman who is sitting now listening to this conversation at whatever time she might be listening to it, um, and maybe she's wondering, is there something else? Or am I really ready? What do you want her to hear?
Wow. So there's two things. Like when it comes to franchising, we'll get to that a little bit later. But personally, um, think about what drives you. What are you passionate about? Right?
Hmm.
If you can find a way to monetize that, or you can solve a problem and
Hmm.
monetize that.
Hmm.
We all have a gift. We're all talented in some way. It's a matter of sitting still long enough with ourselves to really unpack that. And if you're not afraid to sit with yourself and your thoughts, and now there are going to be some things that come up that you probably have had in the recesses of your mind, maybe for years or decades,
Hmm.
but it takes sitting with yourself to really start at what
Hmm.
I consider to be ground zero. And if you're willing to do that, because that's really tough. And we
Hmm.
are all capable of doing tough things. If you're willing to do that, I think that would really help to um, create a foundation to build with the life you really want from there.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
second thing, in
Absolutely.
terms of like, whether or not, how to move forward. I know right now we live in a world of social media and everyone's saying,
Hmm.
you need to invest in the stock market and you need to invest in real estate. With franchising, you can have it all, right? So you can buy
Yeah.
the dirt, you can build the building and own the business, and then if the company is publicly traded, now you can invest in the stock. So think about it that way versus just being something that you're doing that creates one additional revenue stream. It could create a whole new way of life for not just you, but your family in generations to come.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, I really really feel like there is someone who's sitting out there listening that is now, this is a way, another pathway for them that maybe they hadn't even considered. Because I think franchising can also be for that person who is like, listen, I know I could build something, I know I can run a business, I just don't know what that thing is yet. And if you get into franchising and you have everything kind of there and you're learning all of these things at the same time, it could be the perfect answer for someone who might not know exactly what the what is, but they know who they are and they know they want to be in business and they know they want to be an owner. So I feel like this conversation has really unlocked a lot of ideas for me, for people who might be listening right now. And this is really exactly what this show exists for. It's the real version of what it takes. And so, if anyone is out there listening who felt something shift during this episode, I really want you to pay attention to that, because that feeling that you're having is information for you. Tarji's work through the franchise player is for the professional who is ready to move from earning to owning. And if that path is for you and it's something that you want to explore, I'm going to have all her links in the description. And if today's conversation has you thinking more seriously about your own next chapter, what it would look like, what it would cost, what it would require, the Design Pause Decision Kit is where that work begins. It walks you through exactly what kind of pause makes sense for your life right now. And that link is in the description also. So I want to say thank you so much, Tarji, for being here with us. If there's any last parting words that you want to leave us with, I will give you the floor.
I just want to thank you for having me. I'm very proud of you for stepping away and really following your gut and following your dream of doing this and helping other women to realize what that pause needs should and could look like for them. So thank you for having me. I hope that whatever I've shared today reaches at least one person to really consider, you have everything that you need inside of you. It's just a matter of believing in yourself and then finding a pathway that works for you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that so much. I am Deidre Green. This is Design Pause. Tarji, thank you. And I will see you in the next one.